All right, how's everybody doing today?
Great.
All right, hey, listen, excited to be up here, and I'm excited that it's not too cold. You know, I got off the plane yesterday in shorts, and it wasn't that bad at all. I'll tell you, it was colder when I came up in November than it was now. I'll tell you, weather up here is weird. Weird. Because I know it snowed like a week or so ago, right? And it's going to be 70 degrees on Sunday. And then 37 on Tuesday. That's some weird crap right there.
We got the 4 seasons in 1 month.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, why do you need the whole year? We got 4 seasons in a month. That's crazy. That's how you get sick. Hey, but, as we get started, my wife touched on something about thinking big. I mean, I really do think it starts with that. And that's why a lot of new people, and that's, I want to talk to the new people because I know, hopefully some of this stuff will benefit. Most people come in and they think small, and I've been guilty of it, growing up sometimes, you think as if the world revolves around you, right? And it's like, it's all about me and it's all about this. And well, that's a pretty small thought process. Okay, that's a very small thought process. And most of us kind of cultivate that as we go up. And the truth of the matter is, thinking big and thinking growth is everything that's going to motivate the great ones to do what they do. I mean, again, it's not just business. We're going to stick it to business. But you look at anybody that's, that we read about still today, whether it's Gandhi, or Martin Luther King. I mean, they thought big. They were doing something way bigger than them being the center of the universe. Which is crazy is the bigger you think and the more you think about the cause, the more people write about you as an individual anyway, right? So, but the point is, in business, you've got to think big. That's what limits people's success here. Is they're not focused on growth. They're not focused on getting big. I mean, at the end of the day, your barometer, your North Star needs to be growth. As a small business, and I hear this all the time, people, they talk about ratios. And they'll say, oh, what's your this to that, and what's your this to that. Hey, look, small businesses can't operate with ratios, okay? Because if you made $1, 100% growth is $2. $2 still not paying your bills. But if you want to brag, hey, 100% growth over a year, that's pretty awesome. Big companies talk about ratios. You hear Starbucks talk about same-store sales went up 8%, or this went up 6%, or that went 7%. And so small companies, it's all about growth. If you're not growing, you're dying. And the truth is, those big companies that start thinking about ratios, they're no longer really growing. They're just kind of inching along. But that's fine because they got money coming in. Small companies don't have money coming in yet. If they don't grow, they're dead. And so the reason why I bring this up is because as I look back, I was talking to Larry Weidel yesterday, what's the common denominator of everybody that got big in this company? It started with them thinking big about this opportunity. Because if your barometer is growth, if that's what it's focused on, what are you trying to grow? Larry Weidel told me he was always trying to grow his recruiting, his premium, his promotions. Right? That's what he wanted to grow. Those are the things he wanted to continue to grow. If that's the case, then you need more people. Okay? You need more people so you can do more production, so you can promote more people. But see, unfortunately, so there becomes the barometer. That's why everything becomes a byproduct of more people. And it's not just in our business. You got to stop thinking small. Jay-Z just re-signed a contract with one of the, the whole music industry is in upheaval. No one knows how to make money. So a lot of these side companies are, they're doing it. Jay-Z just re-signed a contract for whatever, $100 million for some, new music player. And you know why? You know why? Is it because he sells a lot of albums? No, that's not how it goes anymore. It's because he fills stands. More people in the stands, more money. Period. Jeff Fieldstad just did our school and talked about something really impressive. Floyd Mayweather made like $80 million, $100 million last year. And Manny Pacquiao got paid $7.5 million. Now, before Manny Pacquiao got knocked out by, was it Sergio Martinez?
No,
One. Okay, before he got knocked out, those were the top 2 pound-for-pound fighters in the game. Some would say, a lot of people would say Floyd Mayweather was better, but a lot of people put Manny Pacquiao right there. So as far as skill, as far as, career, as far as all that, these were the top 2. And the question is, well, then why such a big disparity on the money that they make? And it's because Manny Pacquiao, when he fights, he just gets a bout fee. Pretty much win or lose, he gets $7.5 million. Floyd Mayweather gets paid based on how many people watch the fight. He gets paid on all that. At the end of the day, the more pay-per-view, the more people in the stands, the more people pay to get in the stands, the more money Floyd Mayweather makes. So here's the 2 best fighters. One gets paid just to show up. One gets paid based on how many butts are in chairs. And so at the end of the day, I think back to that, it's like, well, then really Manny Pacquiao is just an overpaid employee. That's what happens is he limits. Win or lose, $7.5 million. That's not a bad wage for a year, okay? Don't get me wrong. But see, when you get into business, you make more money when you have more people watching. And unfortunately, what most people do is instead of thinking big, they think small. Instead of going out there and thinking that the logics of business, the principles of business are so simple, so easy to understand, it just blows my mind that people don't get this. The man or woman with the most licensed agents makes the most money. That's how it works. You have a law firm with 30 licensed lawyers. I have a law firm with 3. Chances are your 30 licensed lawyers is going to make that firm more money. Right? McDonald's doesn't make more money than, Red Robin because they have a better burger. True or false? Who's got the better burger? Red Robin has a better burger. McDonald's makes more money because they have more locations. So it's really it's the distribution. That's what it's always been. It's the same thing on websites. Why is one website worth more than the other? Because there's more action, more people, more hits, sites, whatever they call that stuff in technology, right? Right. You're not gonna get, the next Facebook, they're like, hey, I got 1,000 people, and all of a sudden IPO, whatever 100 million there was. It's not gonna happen. The greater your reach, the more money you make. That's thinking big. In that case, when I get faced with that absolute of business, that becomes my barometer. I'm thinking I need more people at all costs. Whether it's, again, as long as it's legal, ethical, moral, okay, I need more people. That's what I need. What do small people think? This is small thinking. They go home, they're like, but what would someone think? What if somebody thinks, what if I bother them? Some of you guys laughing, some of you not. Why? Because you're small thinking. That's going through your head. What would someone think about me? Let me assure you, that's the one thing every great person never worries about. What would someone think about me? What if they think it's one of those things? That's small thinking. What are you doing it for? So that people think better of you? Is that what you're doing it for? What your image is? Is that really what the shallowness and smallness of your thought? What do they think? Is that why you dress every morning? That's why you do what you do every day, so that people you don't know might think better of you? The truth is, they don't think about you. But that's small thinking. Big thinking is, I want to help change the world. Well, what, and you can say whatever, again, it doesn't just have to be business. I really believe the biggest thing that's going to change America is more small business owners. I don't want to get into that philosophy, because that's not the point. But I really think if I have an impact on America, it's going to be helping create creators and not processors, right? That's what I think. More small business owners, stronger America is. That's what I think. Now, again, it doesn't matter what your purpose is. Hey, if you help a whole bunch of people, thousands and thousands of people save more money, America's better. True or false?
True.
You help some people get out of debt, America's better. Whatever your purpose is. All right? But if you're thinking about that, what does someone might think of me come in? I mean, could you imagine if, and most of the time you're thinking about people that aren't going to think highly of you no matter what you do probably. I mean, could you imagine if Gandhi's like, hey, look, man, I'm going to hang up my straps. You know, these British guys, they've been talking bad about me. They don't really like what I'm doing. They don't think highly of me. So I'm just going to wrap it up. Could you imagine? Martin Luther King's like, hey, man, these KKK guys are just really not liking what I'm doing. They're just not thinking highly of me. I'm going to stop. I'm going to hang up my boots. The truth is, he was thinking so big that he would be willing to die for what he was doing. But see, that's why most people get hung up, because they think so small about what would someone think, what this person think, what is this and that, and it keeps them from the real picture of making a difference in life. You know, I'll tell you, I figured out the philosophy of life. I'm going to write a book, okay? The truth is, you know, you really want to, what you do is you focus on helping and serving others and fixing yourself. That's what you focus on. Helping and serving others and fixing yourself. But what do most people think about? They think about fixing others and helping themselves. That's going to be a recipe for depression. So at the end of the day, if what you're focused on is helping and serving others, whether it's the American people saving money, the American people getting more freedom to earn a bigger income or own a business and get equity, whatever you're focused on, you've got to think big about it. You've got to get started. And we're going to talk about how that looks and how to get big in this business. But before I get into that, what I want to touch on is, because this time of year is a unique time of year. And a lot of people that want to win in business, because, and me the same, we came from a certain background, we have certain assumptions. You know, most of us have kind of been programmed to be employees. You know, I say this saying all the time, I don't know why I love it so much, but they say, if I was born in China, I'd speak Chinese. All right, what it really means is, I don't see things how they are. I see things how I've been grown up to see them. Because if I was born in China, I'd speak a different language. I'd look at family structure differently. True or false? True. I'm not going to see that many 8-children families, will I? I'm going to look at government structure differently, economy differently. Is it because that's how it is? No, it's because that's how I grew up to see them. Well, likewise, I wasn't born in China. I was born in middle-class America. So how do I think? What do I speak? I speak middle-class America. And if I want to retrain myself to think wealth, I have to rid myself of that as I learn something else. See, when you recruit somebody, when you're training somebody and trying to help them, you got to know that what you're fighting against, if it's a young person, what you're fighting against is their parents and surroundings. Because that's what's in their head. That's what's done it. All the things they've heard, listened, saw, you know, and that's what's coming out of their mouth. And I know I came in with some of that stuff, but the best thing I had going for me when I started, I was a 23-year-old young punk kid that knew nothing about nothing. You know, I tell you, I had no job, I had no car, living at home with mom, had no cell phone, had no money, had no bank account. Even if I had money, I had no bank account. I mean, nothing. The only thing I had going for me was I knew nothing. When it came to money and building equity and building a net worth, I knew nothing. How could I possibly know anything? I had none. My family never had money. Like, you know, I mean, first time they started talking about estate planning. I'm like, estate planning? I thought it was a Spanish person trying to say state. You know how they all got lists, right? It's right. It's Sprite, right? That's how they say it. I'm like, it's state. And I'm like, no, it's a state, the state of Virginia. And I had no idea, nobody in my family left in a state. So, I had to learn all that stuff. And part of that is learning how to think like a business owner, not like an employee. See, growing up in school, man, we get like, well, it depends. In high school, we get like a week off for Christmas. In college, they gave us like a month at Virginia Tech. Whew! What? So we love the holidays. So unfortunately, most people start their own business and they what? Keep the same habit. When the truth is, you got to know, business owners like the holidays too. Most time for a different reason. Because that's where they make a lot of money. You know, could you imagine if Macy's and Nordstrom's shut down for a month and it just happened to be the month of Friday after Thanksgiving to like the end of December? Could you imagine? I don't know what the percentage is. Like 40% of their profits come from those 30 days or something ridiculous like that. I mean, you think about the, you know, the big time, you know, earners, because, you know, we talk about, you know, the top turnout. The reason why top turnout is so important is because it's about getting people in chairs, right? Well, you think about people that get paid a lot of money. You know, Kobe Bryant just signed a new deal to stay with the Lakers. Some people say, oh, it's to keep his legacy there. Look, whether he's good or not, he's a stand packer. He will fill the stands. Okay? In entertainment, in business, it's about filling the stands. That's why top turnout's so important. It's not just this business. It's everything. What church makes more money? The church that has 5,000 people every Sunday or the church that has 50 people every Sunday? 5,000. Right. And so again, you got to understand that when you're talking about building an organization, recruiting somebody, you know, just because you get them in, you convert them, you baptize them, right? But they don't come back on Sunday. If they don't come back on Sunday, what are you doing? You can't just keep baptizing people, never have a congregation. You don't have a church if you don't have a congregation, right? So it doesn't matter how many times you pick up an IBA. If they're not showing up, you don't got nothing. Because how does a church make money? Per baptism or really per attendance? Right. Now some of y'all, don't contribute. But I'm sure every third, whatever their deal is, right? But the point is, that's how it is. It's based on attendance. But see, people that think small, they're like, oh, this is one of those things. I don't know what things? Paid based on attendance? Well, then that's boxing, basketball, churches. I mean, that's everything. Stop thinking small. And so, when we talk about, this time of year, see, business owners know that it's that extra edge. Sometimes, George Patton, one of the most ruthless generals in American history, said the closest thing to war is American business. Hey, it's a competitive game. You've got to look for the competitive edge. And if somebody's shutting their doors on the 26th, you open your doors on the 26th. It's just like in basketball. My coach would always tell me, hey, Brett, whenever you're not practicing, someone somewhere is, and when you meet, he'll beat you. Jeff, Fieldstad, told a story. He used to be a boxer, right? And during training, his trainer would call him at 5 a.m. and just literally, he's like, what do you think the other guy's doing? So Jeff said he'd get up and do the old, hey, I'm telling you, let me put it to you like this. There's 100,000 people in Primerica, maybe 20,000 that do real work, keeping with the principle of 80-20. Then you combine all that with all the State Farm guys, New York Life guys, Morgan Stanley Smith Barney guys, and everybody else that you're really competing against. And I assure you, you take off 26, 27, 28, they won't. And that's fine. You get choices here. That's the advantages of owning a business. But you don't get to come to me in January and talk to me about why you're having a bad month. You don't get it both sides. You can't be frustrated why this thing's not working if you chose to do that. when others chose not to. Because there's consequences with all the choices, right? Now, I say this in this time of year, I don't want to scare new people, but I love reading biographies. And I remember, this wasn't even a biography, I saw an interview Bill Gates did. And Bill Gates said, in my first 7 years, I took off 2 days. 2 days. That means if both days were Christmas, he still worked 5 Christmases, 7 Easters, 7 birthdays, 7 July 4ths. Right? Now, he's the richest American. Right? I'll never work Christmas. I'll never work Easter. Okay, I'm just not going to do it. But you know what? Maybe that's why I might never be worth $50 billion. The way I think about it is I'll take 5 days and keep Christmas and Easter. What do you think? That's a deal? That's a deal? All right, but the point is, that's what it takes to get 50 billion, apparently. How would I know? I don't have 50 billion. I don't know what it takes. I do know this. They don't call it Christmas week. They don't call it Christmas month. It's Christmas Day. And for whatever reason, this is what happens. It hits about the 21st. People come to a training like this. They walk out that door. And it's the holidays until about the 3rd. Holler at me on the 3rd. Right? I've been guilty of it too. All I know is this. That's some employee student crap. That is not business owner crap. It's not. Now, you get to choose. You're free to choose. But if you choose, you have to deal with the consequences. Most people are already thinking about New Year's resolutions and New Year's goals, right? They are already talking about, oh, 2014 is my year. I'm going to RVP. I'm getting a ring. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And that's great. But guess what? 2014 doesn't start right now. I mean, it doesn't start on January 1st. It starts right now. It's already started. Because just like anything else worth doing, there's a delayed gratification process, right? They say you reap what you sow, right? That's not just, a farmer has never reaped the corn that he has yet to sow. Would you agree? Because you reap what you sow, but you reap after you sow. And so, in our business, most people say it's on about a 3-week basis. Activity today equals results in a couple weeks. So here's the thing. I can't control all things. And this is another part, in my opinion, that people make a mistake of. They try to control things they can't control, and they don't try to control the things they can control. And this was one thing we were really good at in the beginning was, see, we want to make money, we want to have success, right? But that comes from results, right? And results comes from activity, right? You will never close an appointment you don't set. Okay? Now, can I control somebody saying yes or no? No, I can't. I mean, unfortunately, I can't. Now, I found in this business, and I think most people that have been around a while, and they'll tell you, we get more yeses than nos when it comes to the clients, I think. But we don't get 100% yeses. I mean, there's some people say no, and doesn't matter how much I slap them and take them by the shirt, they still have their mind made up. They say no. That's not something I can control. Why worry about that? I can't change that. What can I change? What can I control? Setting appointments, prospecting, doing that part, right? So over the next week, really 10 days, you can control activity. You can control how many appointments you set. You can control how many people you prospect. You can control all that. Whether they say yes or no, you can't control. But here's what I'll tell you. Your activity you pile up this next 10 days, even if it doesn't equal results this week or this 10 days, it will equal results in the first week of January, second week of January. So now you're really getting 2014 started in a big way. Somebody you prospect, you set an appointment, maybe you do it on the 22nd. You're supposed to get it done on the 26th, and they say, oh, let's wait until after the New Year's. That's fine. I mean, I'd rather close it today. I'd rather close it now. But hey, if I got 2 in the hopper, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 clients in the hopper, January 2nd to January 7th, that's not a bad start of the year. True or false? So I'm sowing today. I might reap the 26th, 27th, 28th. But hey, if I reap January, first week of January, second week of January, I'm fine with that too. Does that make sense? But here's the problem. What do most people do? They don't sow in December. They stop sowing today. And they go, oh, I'm going to get my goals. I'm going to get my goals in 2014. And they start sowing January 3rd. And then they wonder why they don't reap until February. The worst part is by the middle of January, they're like, oh, I'm trying hard. It's not working. It's not working. Tell me, Brett, explain to me this. Explain to me the beta of a mutual fund. Explain to me how to break down cash value. Thinking, you're not getting results because you didn't put in activity. It has nothing to do with what you know or don't know. And see, here's a huge problem in America's thinking today. Because see, 100 years ago, you didn't really have much of a choice. You know, like most of us were farming our own food 100, 200 years ago. Right? So the good thing about that is this absolute of you reap what you sow was apparent in your children eating. Right? Like, if you don't sow in the spring, you don't reap at harvest. That's how they do it farming, right? Okay. So, if you don't reap at harvest, your family doesn't eat. You don't get food stamps 200 years ago. You don't get to borrow food 200 years ago. If you don't plant, your family doesn't eat. Now see, when it was that clear, it was a lot easier to go out and do what you had to do. You know, this whole, oh, I got the sniffles. You don't plant, your family doesn't eat. Oh, I got a flat tire. You don't plant, your family doesn't eat. It doesn't matter why you didn't plant. If you don't plant, you don't eat. See, Americans have lost sight of that. They think they should not plant and still eat. Hey, all I'm saying is that's not a duplicatable model long range. Can't nobody plant and still everybody eat. But back then we were responsible for our own family eating. So we had to plant or we didn't eat. And most of the questions I get in this business is, Brett, listen, I want a one-on-one with you. I say, great, no problem. And they go, hey, why, I want to talk about the result. I mean, why didn't I get to, I'm only one. And then I say, okay, wait. You're focusing on the plants. First, let's talk about the seeds you planted. How many appointments did you go on the last 2 weeks? Well, I had 2, but they rescheduled. So 0. Well, I mean, there was 0. Okay. How many one-on-ones did you do? 1. Okay, so let me get this straight. Over the last 2-3 weeks, you've done no kitchen table appointments. You sat down with one-on-one, and you're wondering why you don't have a Thanksgiving feast? Is that insane to anybody else? But that's how most people operate. So one thing we had good in the beginning, we didn't know much about anything, but the one thing we had good was we held ourselves accountable to activity. See, we believed if we planted enough seeds, as bad of farmers as we were, if we planted enough, something's going to grow. That was the one thing we had. We planted enough seeds, something's going to grow. And guess what? The more seeds we plant, the better farmers we become. So we always focused on the activity. Never focusing on, can I get 5 heads or ears? What do they call them? Ears. 5 ears instead of 3 off of this stalk? Are they called stalks? Stalls. Stalk. 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 Can I get 5 ears off this stalk? Or can I get 3? And so that's what they start thinking. And to me, it's like, well, hey, look, even if mine right now are only getting 3, I'll get that good fertilizer in a little bit. Right now, though, if I plant 10 and 3 each, that's 30 to your 5 on the one stalk. Right? So that's kind of what I was thinking. I knew I didn't want my family to go hungry, so I would overplant seeds. I'd do more activity. I'd do more KTs. And you know what? I don't care about the ratios. I'm not supposed to be good in the beginning. The first farm you do, the first crop you do, chances are is going to be your worst. After that, you learn the little tricks of the trade, right? You cut down that tree that was blocking the sun. You make sure you water it evenly or whatever. So you get better. But I didn't want my family to go hungry because I didn't do what I had to do. Because I was too worried about changing something I couldn't change anyway. So at the end of the day, one of the things it's amazing how human nature is. Because that's part of what we're fighting, is human nature. And, it's funny because for some reason, human nature gets all pumped up about new stuff. I don't know, when I first moved down to Florida, I'm going to tell you the truth, it was a little bit easier to prospect. Because I was like, hey, I just have a new office. I'm new to the area. We're looking for some new people. And all of a sudden, I don't know why that was easier to say. I was just like, bam, right? But then I remember back in school, I hated school. But the first day of school of the new year, I was actually excited. I got my list. I'm like, what class you in? What class you in? 2 weeks later, I hated school again. I hated jobs. But the first day of a new job, I'm like, oh, I could do this. I could do this. 5 days later, I'm like, hey, I'm out. I remember even crazier than that is when you went to school with a new haircut, you walk with a little, like, what? Right? I'm telling you, and then somebody like Sonny, he gets a new outfit. He's been trying to talk to a girl for a year, can't get the courage to talk to this girl for a year. He gets a new outfit, and he's like, hey, baby. I'm telling you, there's all of a sudden this confidence that comes when we got new stuff. And of course, the leading one of that is the new year. The kind of confidence that comes on January 1st is absurd. I mean, absurd. I hear people, what's your New Year's resolution? I'm gonna lose 15 pounds. And I'm like, what? You said that last year. And you gained 20. And they say, but this time it's different. And I said, you said that last time too. I'm going to quit smoking. This will only be the 25th time you did. I remember watching a comedian, he gets up and he goes, hey guys, I just quit smoking. Everybody starts clapping. He goes, don't clap for me. I quit smoking all the time. This time it's different. Why? Because it's January 1st. What? As opposed to September 3rd. January 1st. I'm going to quit it. This time it's different. And they actually believe that crap. I mean, they are literally 0 for 12 years. Right? Look like the Redskins this year, right? I mean, hey, look, man. What do you want me to say? I thought we'd be talking playoffs this time this year. But all of a sudden, just like Redskin fans, you go 0 for 12, but as soon as the new year, wait till next year. Wait till next year. It's the new season. Now, let me tell you, Dan Snyder's got his work cut out this year. All right. He's got, who, Snyder? No, bump that. Snyder doesn't have to go. I don't care. I'll defend Snyder till I'm dead. Snyder wants to win, and he's willing to pay money to win. Does he meddle too much? Sure, but he's learning not to. Hey, you know what? There's owners out there that aren't willing to spend money because all they're trying to do is make money. All he's trying to do is win and make money. Right? So I don't have any problem with that. But he's got, every year he's kind of brought something in to get us jacked up. This year he's got his work cut. But if we get John Gruden, if we get Bill, Cowan, but who are we talking about getting? They haven't even talked about it. I know he's already working on it. But if he gets like John Gruden, I'll be excited again. It'll be a new season, Super Bowl, baby. Point is, there's no reason for Redskin fan to have confidence going into the last 12 new seasons. But because it was the new year, there was a confidence. Right? And the crazy thing is that's not, there is no voodoo on January 1st. It's not what's happening without. It's what's happening within. You got that confidence. You're the one that's saying, I have a fresh start, a new beginning. And it's powerful. Just ask the gyms. It lasts like 17 days, that confidence. But the question is like, well, why can't every month be a new month, just like January 1st? Why can't every week be a new week, like January 1st? Why can't every day be the new day, just like January 1st? When you're building a business, it is. I remember Mike Sharp saying to one time in a CD, he goes, I didn't get it. I woke up jacked up every morning like it was Christmas and I was a 7-year-old. He goes, because I never knew the day I'd wake up and meet the next Hector Lamarck. Every day could be the next day I wake up and meet the new Rick Susie. And just from Hector Lamarck, I would imagine he make, Hector Lamarck and Rick Susie's team, he makes $2 million a year. And he's been doing that for a long time. Just off that one contact, $2 million a year? I mean, imagine that. He's going to get paid and his kids are going to get paid on that $2 million a year. But let's say 50 years. What's $2 million 50 years? That's $100 million. So he meets one guy in one day, and as a result, his family makes $100 million. Is that a pretty fun day? Pretty good new day? I mean, I don't understand why. You're more likely to meet the next Hector Lamarck than you are of keeping your New Year's resolution. Why would you be more excited about the New Year's resolution? It's so funny how people are. I just sat next to, just coming up here, a guy worked for Department of Interior, and then he gave me abbreviations, ACD or something like this. But what he does is he's on the gaming commission. So he was down in Florida checking out the Indian reservations and whatever it is that they do. And he goes, because I started asking, I said, do they not, they don't break us off with anything, they don't pay taxes, these casinos down there make some money, and I'm thinking, they don't pay the government, they don't pay. He goes, well, they have to pay a gaming license fee every year of $1 million. I'm like, all right, $1 million. And I go, but no taxes. He goes, no taxes. I said, well, whose land? I said, what about, do they pay state of Florida tax? No, it's actually not even state of Florida land. It's national land. And I said, well, do they rent the land? And they go, no, they don't rent the land. And so he goes, but look, why are you worried about that? Those casinos don't make money. The state casinos make money. The lottery makes money. He goes, if you added every casino in the world, all the Indian reservations, Wynn's, MGM's, Harrah's, Caesars, you add all that together, they're not even half of what the state lotteries net. The state lotteries net is $150 million a year. And they don't pay any federal tax. Now, the crazy part is he goes, see, the problem is with the states. I mean, here's a guy, and I don't think he gambles. I don't think you can have that job gambling because you could. I'm not a gambling man, but if I was, I could tell he's not a gambling man. You know what I mean? And so he's like, they buy these state lottery tickets. He goes, I just feel so bad. I mean, it's like the worst chance of success. I mean, anything. It's 1 in 250 million. And I go, so you're saying there's a chance? Hey, and he looks at me and he goes, no, you don't understand. We, by law, the federal regulators would not allow the Indian reservation to have a game with that poor of odds. By law, and I think he was like, the law I wrote, he's all bragging, it's like, the law I wrote, they can go up to 1 in 100 million, but it has to be placarded hugely on the game that says your odds of winning are 1 in 100 million. He goes, because look, you've got a greater chance of getting hit by lightning, getting struck by a meteor, and he said something else. I'm like, no way. I forgot what he said, but I'm like, no, there's no way. But then I realized, you don't got a good chance. But let the Powerball get to 500 million, and everybody's like, ooh, I don't even, look, I'm not kidding. I don't buy lottery tickets. I just never have. But man, all of a sudden I see a line and I'm like, whoa, what's the line for? Powerball 600. All right, I'll take 2, you know. And I literally, I will watch it. Like, oh. But see, all this comments comes up because it's not. The truth is, it's in you. You get that fired up. You can get that fired up about anything. But see, people are fired up about the lottery, and they're not fired up about going to Prospect tomorrow morning and finding someone that will pay you $100 million. They'll pay your family $100 million, like when Mike Sharp found Hector Lamarck. I mean, look, I don't know the odds of that, but it's not 1 in 250 million. I mean, there's only 250 million people that can do Primerica in the country. And if you recruited everybody in the country, you're going to have more than one Hector Lamarck.
Right.
I mean, because the truth is, you know, in all total, Primerica's maybe, you know, recruited 4 million. So there's almost 100 times more, or whatever it is, 67 times more people left. So if you took the number of 70 millionaires, and when we say millionaire, we mean they make $1 million a year. There's a lot more millionaires in Primerica. So you take 70 and times it by 67, that's how many are left out there. There's a lot of people. If you took the amount of people that made 100 grand, there's a lot of people. There's somebody in Loudoun County right now, probably a lot of somebody, that if they came in, they'd make 100 grand. But you get more fired up about the Powerball. When you have a surefire way of getting wealthy. Surefire. Lottery, pipe dream. Here, surefire way. Numbers don't lie. Right? What do they say? Men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. Right? Everybody knows that women are bigger liars than men. How's it go? Men tell small lies. Right? Small ones. Right? See, because you know, you call them up and say, hey, baby, I'm at my man's house, and I'd really be at the bar. That's a small lie. That's a small lie. Hey, or I'll say, hey, I'm right around the corner. I'm an hour away. Small lie. Women lie, big lie. Women go, this your baby. That's a big lie. That's big. So at the end of the day, we talk about, you know, the New Year's coming up, but the truth is it could be a new day. Every day you could be fired up about finding the next big guy, the next big thing. And, you know, I always hear, you know, Nike and Art Williams talk about do it, just do it. And it's true, but see, I think in our mind, we've got to add a word. And that's now. Just do it now. Because for whatever reason, it might be human nature, it might just be how we were raised, but we literally think that by delaying a decision, we're not making a decision. That's what we think. That's absurd. If you delay getting pregnant, you're not pregnant. You've decided, no, I'm not getting pregnant. If you delay getting married, you're deciding, no, I'm not getting married. You are not saying yes, but not yet. No, it's either yes, give her a ring, or no, don't give her a ring. Now, you might make a different decision a year from now, but today the decision was no. It wasn't maybe so. There is no maybe so. And so that's what happens is we let ourselves off the hook by procrastination, thinking that we decided yes, but just not yet. Because I see people all the time. They'll come in and they'll say, hey, I'm doing a one-on-one, and they say, I want to own a business. You know what? And I got no money. So it's got to be low capital, low risk. And I say, great, look, we got this, own a business, own that, own this. And he goes, this looks like exactly what this is exactly what I want to do. This is exactly what I want to do. But let me think, but not right now. Let me just think about it. And I'm thinking, look, he literally thinks he's deciding to go into business, but not yet. Well, if that's the choices we have. See, if the choice is you think you choose to be rich or you choose to be poor. Well, everybody decides to choose to be rich. You choose to be healthy, you choose not to be healthy. Everybody decides being healthy. You choose to be a good father, you choose to be a bad father. Everybody chooses to be a good father. You can choose to be a good husband or a bad husband. Everybody chooses to be a good husband. Would anybody wake up in the morning and say, well, you know what, today I'm going to be a bad father, bad husband, unhealthy, and broke. That's what I'll do for today. Anybody do that? No! So stop thinking that's the decision. Just because you decided to be rich, you decided to be a good husband, that all of a sudden, that means you're not a bad one? Wrong. Nobody decides to be a bad one. And yet this world is filled with bad husbands, bad fathers, unhealthy, broke people. True or false?
True.
So how does this come about? If they would never decide to be a bad one, how do they become a bad one? If that's the choice. If the choice, how do they become a bad father if no one would ever decide to be a bad father? Because that's not the real choice. The real choice in our human mind is you decide to be a good father now, or you decide to be a good father not yet. Nobody decides to be a good father. What they do is they delay being a good one. Nobody decides to be a bad one. They just delay being a good one. I'm going to play ball with them next week. I'll take them to the game next season. I'll tell them I love them tomorrow. I'll do the deal tomorrow. I'll read a bedtime story to him next week, next time. I'll do it for his next birthday. I'll be there next Christmas. I'll do it next time. Well, if you put off being a good father long enough, you're a bad father. I see it all the time with clients. See, and this is why, trust me, I'm not trying to be mean. I can't feel sorry for somebody that ends up with no money. I can't. Because I didn't come from money, and I have money. And especially everybody in this room has the exact same opportunity that I have. No, we don't get luck or bad. We get consequences to our choices. That's what we get. Let me put it to you like this. Hey man, you really need to save money. Oh, I know I need to save money. I don't have any money. Now, I didn't have any money, but Mark, he got me to save $25 a month, which I didn't have. But then if I thought about it, it's like $25 a month. I mean, when I was in college, I had no money. But I'd walk away from a bar paying $50 bar tab. So when Mark was like saying it's $25, I could find $25. So I start saving $25. Even though I had no money, no income, no job, he got me to save $25. I say the same thing to these clients. They go, oh yeah, we know we got to save money. So you're choosing to save money. Yep, I'm choosing to save money. But not yet. Because right now, it's the holidays. How am I going to save money in the holidays? I usually owe money in the holidays. Come back to me after the holidays. After the holidays come, they're like, look, I'm going to save money, but not yet. My car has 3 flats. I got to change the tires. As soon as I change the tires, I'm saving money. I come back. It's the summer. They go, listen, my oldest child starting college this fall. come back to me during the semester. All of a sudden, their youngest child needs dentist or braces, and they want to come back next year, next time, next year. You put off saving money long enough, and you're broke. You're broke. Whose choice was that? Mine? No, it was yours. I tried to tell you to save money. Matter of fact, your conscience told you to save money. You decided not to. You decided not to plan. You decided not to feed your family. Not me, not the government, not the state, not the weather. You decided. So when people don't win in this business and they come to Brad, tell me how does I got to do it? You decided not to set the appointments. Now why? I don't know. In my opinion, because I felt guilty of it. I'm going to tell you right away. I feel guilty of it working out. I procrastinate working out. Oh, the things that go through my head, it's just insanity. You know, I mean, it really is. So I know what it is. Hey, you going to work out? I'm going to work out. You going to work out in the morning? All right, well, that's fine. You know, you'll take a lunch break. And I'm thinking, well, the doctor says it's not healthy to exercise right after you eat. You know, I mean, I put it off. But you know what? Hey, I'm not going to blame anybody if I end up a little overweight. I mean, you know, I'm not going to. I know what I did. I know I could have got myself to do it. And hopefully by the time, that happens, it won't be too late. But you see, the way I'm saying this, I know how ignorant that sounds. But that's how people, because anybody that eats healthy, the whole non-processed, no MSG, no dairy, almond milk, you know what I'm talking about. It's got to be at least, just based on percentages, 30% of y'all or so. You're looking at me like, oh, this guy. If he only knew, he's drinking those monsters. These are the new non-processed monsters. No chemicals. All right. But I know because I have these conversations with them, and I know they're right. My conscience tells me they're right. Hey, do you think antibiotics that they give to cows are good in your body? I'm going to go with no, Dan. I'm going to go with no. You know what I'm saying? I know what they're saying is right. But I assure you, you are not going to see me if, whatever happened, you're not going to see me in the hospital talking about, it's the doctor's fault. I can't believe that. It's Tyson. Man, it's Tyson's fault. Let me sue Tyson. Don't they make turkeys and stuff? Shoot it with this stuff. Right? Who's the big culprits of the processing stuff? Q? All right, well, anyway, you're not going to see me suing Tyson Food because they put processing in their food. You're not going to see me do it. But see, that's the even worse part. Because I know whose choice it is. I know whose choice. In that area, I need improvement, and I'm working on it. Pray for me. In the area of getting to work in business and saving money, I've done all right. I'm not perfect. So I got areas to work on too. I can relate to this, but you've got to know that the thing that's holding you back is that procrastination. I'm going to win in 2014. Great. Are you going to set appointments today? When we leave today, are you going to set 3-5 appointments before you leave? Or are you going to shoot right out that door? Oh, I'm going to set appointments. But today I got, my kids I got to go get to my kids. I got Christmas shopping to do. The holidays are coming up. So you're going to set appointments. But not yet. That's what happens on a day-to-day basis. And the more you can get yourself to do it now, the easier it is to do it now. The more you get yourself to do it not yet, the easier it is to put it off and not do it yet. Because the excuses only get worse when I follow up with clients that say they weren't going to save money. First one actually sounded pretty decent. Look, my checking account, it's a negative. I owe the bank money. I have no money in my checking account. That's a pretty good one. Right? It's not bad. But by 3-4 years later, they're like, oh, well, my wife, she wants a new coffee table. What? It gets worse and worse. And so, you've got to win that battle in your head of non-procrastination, you got to do it now. Especially as the new year comes along, you got to put in the work now. You got to do it now. All right? And, if you do, I assure you that 2014 can change your life. I think one of the things people lose sight of is how powerful our business is. That in 12 months, anybody in this room, I don't care if this is your first day, if this is your first training, 12 months from now, you could be making 20 grand a month. That's the kind of business we're in. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen on many occasions. And the problem, though, is most people, they think small. They give themselves small goals, small visions. They settle for less and less. And I share the story all the time. I came in with a guy named College Temple. College Temple signed his IBA. 9 months later, was running a $50,000 base shop, making $24,000 a month, and he exchanged $1 million leg. 9 months! 9 months. But then I look at it, I'm like, well, I'm not College. Anybody know? Raise your hand if you don't know College. All right, good. College Temple. All everything. Everybody in Baton Rouge knows him. He played, he was all-American high school basketball player, got a D1 college scholarship to LSU, made all SEC playing basketball at LSU, played with the Detroit Pistons for a little bit before he had a career-ending injury. His dad is the #1 African-American employer in all of Louisiana. So it's not just College Temple that's known. His dad's known, and I think the grandfather or the father was the first African-American basketball player in the SEC conference. So needless to say, as a matter of fact, when was it that a commercial came up when College was in the commercial? It was like the NBA championship or something. A Coke commercial or so. What was it? Yeah, 2-3 years ago, they did a Coke commercial about his family. But it's not just that. He's known, a little bit more known in Baton Rouge than I am known around here. I'm infamous. I'm just kidding. I knew 7 people. I knew 7 people in the area. And so he had that credibility. But more than that, he was waking up at 4 a.m., writing his goals, running a couple miles, putting in work as a 14-year-old playing basketball. Carried that discipline throughout his life. He was already working on himself way before I was working on me. So even though we signed our IBA at the same month, we weren't at the same spot. Does that make sense? So sometimes I'm thinking, hey, I'm not College Temple. I got to RVP in 18 months, right? Twice as long. And really it was 21 months, I think. But 18 months sounds better. But see, here's what I'm thinking. If he can grow that fast in 9 months from his IBA, he had to fill out his IBA. He had to get his both insurance license, investment license. He had to learn the presentation, right? He had to learn what to say to set appointments. Well, if you already know that, how could we not do that 9 months from today? If we're already licensed, we already know the presentation, we already know something. He knew nothing about this business. So certainly we could do it 9 months from today. See, if you get yourself to start working now, you start doing the small things now, man, this time next year, your life could be changed. Time's going to fly fast either way, true or false. Sure. But if you put in the work, next year this time, your life could change. It's amazing what happens in just 12 months. I remember I moved down there to Florida, and for the second or third year, I was making probably about 220 or 200. And within a year, I went from RVP in September, SVP October, NSD the following September. My income went from like 220 to 592,000 in 12 months. That's like a $250,000 raise. 12 months. The amount of people we had showing up down there went from 70 to 350. 12 months. It's amazing. what can happen in 12 months of you doing it now every day, making the, doing the next right thing, choosing, to do the next right thing. It's amazing what can happen. But you start that progression of procrastination and you're cooked. You're done. And so that we got to make sure that we get on the right start and we get off to a fast start here in 2014, but that starts now. I've been reading a book from Gary Keller called The One Thing. Anybody read it? The One Thing? Anybody heard of it? Has anybody heard of books?
Yes.
Okay, good. You've heard of books. That's awesome. All right. Gary Keller wrote a book called The One Thing. And I think it's probably perfect time. Everybody know Gary Keller?
No.
What? What? You don't know Gary Keller? What? Hey. He's the guy that built Keller Williams. Anybody know Keller Williams?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Hey, fastest growing real estate organization in the world. Keller Williams is dominating right now. What? You don't know? Better ask somebody. Ask somebody from Remax. Hey, no, I'm not kidding. Hey, they're starting to leave Long and Foster to go to Keller Williams. Anyway, he wrote a book called The One Thing. And what he talks about is the biggest mistake people make is they're trying to do, a whole bunch of stuff good. The whole jack of all trades, master of none. And he really breaks it down, like 5 chapters of why it all makes sense. He said multitasking's a lie. They got scientific evidence that if you're trying to do 2 things at no, your efficiency goes down, period. Okay, let me just give you a recent example. They say texting and driving is equivalent or worse than drunk driving. Don't they?
Yes.
Those are 2 menial tasks. Menial driving. I can drive and I think about something else and snap back and I'm there. I didn't even drive consciously. And texting, that's not tough either. I got the one hand, left hand down, right? I'm doing it left-handed with my off hand, with one hand. It's not that tough. Put it together, deadly. Oh, I can multitask. No, you can't. If you do 2 tasks, you're not doing either task even half as well as you do the one task if you were just doing that task. And really, the scientific behind it is you're really not doing 2 things at once. What you're really doing is your frontal lobe is switching back and forth. And I know that to be true. This is the part I thought maybe women could do that men couldn't. But I know I'm either driving or I'm texting. I'm either thinking about the text or I'm thinking about the driving. I just switch back and forth quick enough, hopefully, so to not avoid anything. Does that make sense? And when I'm drinking and driving, I'm either drinking or I'm driving. Right? I go down, I get a drink. Right? Oh, I didn't mean drunk driving. I'm talking about a big gulp. Or Monster. And those are 2 menial tasks. The point is, imagine, so you're going back and forth, right? You're thinking about this, you're thinking about that. Well, what he talks about is in a work environment, you're out there doing whatever you're doing, a spreadsheet, right? A coworker comes in, asks you a tough question. You turn in your chair, you answer the question, you help it down. By the time you come back, the problem and the inefficiency of this whole multitasking thing is that it takes your mind time to then refocus. And a lot of times, you've got to then go back to come back to the spot, right? And I know that to be true even when I'm reading. See, my frontal lobes go crazy even when I'm not multitasking. I'm reading. And then all of a sudden, I'm a page behind and I'm thinking, I was, I guess daydreaming is what they call it. I don't remember the last 2 pages. So I don't go back 2 pages. I got to go back like 2.5, 3 pages to make sure I can get the buildup of the 2 pages I missed, right? So when you do that stuff, you're losing efficiency and you're losing time. So he talks about that stuff, and then he goes into the, man, I wish he was guys, so GM hired a guy to talk about executive compensation. It was Moran maybe, or Naran, something like that. And so what he did to do GM's compensation, this was back when GM was a good company, okay, 70 years ago. That's not funny? All right, read the news. So he designs a compensation, and what he uses is, and I always mispronounce this guy's name, Pareto. So Moran uses Pareto's principle of 20% of the, it wasn't even 20% of the people at first, but basically it was 20% of the people get you 80% of the results. So he brings that and uses at GM. 20% of the executives that make the most money are going to get 80% of the compensation. Bam! It explodes. GM explodes. Everybody does well. But this guy starts looking even deeper into Pareto's principle and really expounds upon it that, hey, it's not a theory just based on principle. It's a law. And he starts going into it that 20% of your activity is going to produce 80% of your results. So, really, 20% of what you do in your business is going to produce 80% of your results. So he talks about to-do list. And he says to-do list is another very big lie, very big distraction, because people think that just by doing it and checking off the list that they've accomplished something in a day. And the truth is, it's not. It's priority. People that do one thing great are always going to be worth more than somebody that does 10 things good. Somebody that does the one thing that's most important is always going to be able to be more efficient than the guy that just gets 10 things done. So he talks about the to-do list, and he says, well, imagine you have a 25-thing to-do list, and you take 20% of that. So you take the 20% most important things you need to do today. So now you got 5 very important things. Now it's not a to-do list, it's a priority list. You got the 5 things that are more important than the other. And if they don't get done, so be it. Now if you take the 20% rule again, you got 5 things to do. You take 20% of those things, the 20% most important thing to do, and now you got one thing. And the whole book's called The One Thing, because most people aren't focused enough. They're all over, and that's why they're not succeeding. He says you always ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do where if I do that well, the rest becomes less important or inconsequential, easier or inconsequential? What's the one thing I can do? And he says you need to ask that in every area of life. He says I ask it in my spiritual life, my family life, my business life, my physical life. What's the one thing I can do for my physical life in the next year so that by which doing the rest becomes not as important or even inconsequential? What's the one thing I can do in my business for the next 12 months that if I do it right, the rest becomes not as important or even inconsequential? Am I saying that right? Inconsequential? Yeah. Of course not. But if you wanted me to spell it, woo! So what's the one thing? What's the one thing you can do in your business? So in the next 12 months, what's the one thing you can do? What's the one thing you can do to really grow the business? Think big and think growth. What's the one thing you can do? Yeah. Well, see, let me tell you something that I found out now that I got 10 years in this business, and I've traveled to just about every base shop and every fast start school you'd want to go to. And let me tell you, you want to know the hard part of this business? And I see it when they ask me questions. The hard part of this business is not recruiting directs. No. The hard part of this business is trying to figure out how to build a business without directs. That's the hard part. The hard part of this business is not trying to recruit. It's trying to figure out how to build a business with no recruiting. And that's what I see at least 80, if not 90% of the people trying to figure out. And you can tell. They ask questions like, how do I get my guys to set more appointments? How do I motivate my guys? It's like squeezing blood from a turnip. That's pretty hard to do, right? Hey, now planting turnips isn't necessarily easy. But it's a lot easier than getting blood from a turnip. True or false? That's why the saying in Primerica goes, it's a lot easier to give birth than to raise the dead. Is it easy to give birth? No. I mean, I don't know. I would imagine it's not. True or false? It's not easy, but it's a hell of a lot easier than raising the dead. Huh? Huh? But that's what most people are trying to do in this business. Raise the dead. How can I get my one guy to set appointments? You don't have a one guy if he's not setting appointments. What do you mean? How do you get my guys to set appointments? You don't have guys if they're not setting appointments. What are we counting? You need more. It's like, hey, how do I get, because like sometimes you can plant trees and, apple trees, and some will give good apples, and some might be dead, right?
Right.
Okay. So this is what people are asking. How can I turn this dead tree into producing live fruit? Hey, good luck. And I mean, there's people that literally get philosophical. Well, if you look at the recruit to code ratio of the... it's a dead tree. It ain't giving live fruit. But if you need more apples, here's what I would suggest. Plant more apple tree seeds. I'm going to tell you. Trying to build a business without recruiting. Because how do I know that it's harder? Because when I go around the company, they ask me questions all the time that I have no idea how to answer. None. And I try to come up with it. Because I want to help. I'm just thinking like, oh. Finally now I just say it. I go, oh, you're trying to figure out how to build a business without recruiting. I don't know the answer to that. I don't. Matter of fact, I don't think anybody does. I would submit to you that it's impossible to be a business owner without recruiting people. If you look at Robert Kiyosaki's, little cash flow quadrant, it says business owners has others working for them. Others meaning people. Others, people working for them. I don't think there's been... But let's forget about that for a second. We got a factory, right? We put in recruits, we pop out districts, RVPs, right? So here's what someone's asking. It's like, well, how do I got a car factory. How can I produce more cars? My question would be like, well, how many cars do you produce? Oh, I produce one car. Okay. Do you have any raw material? None. No raw material. Then you should go get more raw material. Oh, well, I had a raw material, but I put it through and it was defunct. It was bad material. The rubber cut. The siding shredded. It was bad. Did you think about getting more tires? No. So what you're asking is, how do we make a car with defunct material? That's what you're asking. I don't know. I don't want to sell a car that's defunct material. Me, I prefer to get more raw materials and make cars that aren't defunct. What do you think? So at the end of the day, it all comes in. If you wanted to ask me the one thing, here's what Larry Weidel talks about. And I love this. And it's the same message, just in a different way that I explained. He says, look, you got to grow these things. This is how it looks. This is how this business takes off. You start, you get recruiting going. The higher the recruiting, the higher your ceiling. The more recruits you have, the more potential you have. Right? Because at the end of the day, I know it's another absolute. There's only so much clients I can serve, just me. And to some extent, there's only so much clients this office can serve. There's only so many hamburgers one McDonald's can sell. There's only so much room in the grill, only so many cars that can fit through the drive-thru. Only so many people that can fit in these rooms. The more recruits we have, the more chances of that expanding. We fill the room. Eventually we set up other offices in other locations. But getting them recruited is just the start. After the recruiting spikes, the premium should spike. And that's where the money comes. So first one's the recruiting, the second one is the premium, and the production actually is the word. Larry Weidel only sold premium back then. We do a lot of stuff, so it's production, right? And then as a result, you also get district promotions. Promotions. And he said, see, that's the basement. What you're recruiting is the potential of how big your business can get. Your districts, the number of districts you have, will be the basement of what you got. Because if you've got 20 districts, there's only so little production that will happen. Some will have a bad month, 5 will have a bad month, who knows. You're going to have a certain amount of bottom premium. And that's the truth. I've noticed that as I've grown, is even though some months are better than others, there tends to be a basement, and there also tends to be a ceiling. We'll have a great month, but it just, I don't think, right now with the team I have, we won't do $400,000 in production. All right? We're not going to do less than $100,000 in production either, And so there's a ceiling, and a basement. And that's where you get to decide it based on the number of recruits you got and the number of districts. That's what's deciding it. And the cash flow obviously comes from production, but you're not going to be promoting districts if you're not getting production. So with that said, the one thing, and this is how I describe it, and we'll talk about it in closing. When I first started in this business, my goal was to make $250,000 a year. That was my goal. Why? Because in this area, some people make $100,000. I had older. Matter of fact, I had an older friend, and my sister's husband. They'd make $100,000. And so I said, I got to make $250 to let these dudes know that it works. So that was always my goal. I don't know why, but $100,000 wasn't doing it for me. But $100,000 is good. So don't get me wrong. That was my goal in the beginning. Now, my dad will tell you, he's an accountant, so he knows. Money doesn't grow on trees. Right? Money doesn't grow on trees. Matter of fact, there's nothing, you can't really force money. You can't get money to just show up. Right? Getting money is a byproduct of something. Doesn't matter how you get it, it's a byproduct of something. Okay? And, just to keep, if you're a doctor and you're making $250, that's a byproduct going to school and getting the clients that you've gotten and doing it. It's a byproduct. Right? Even if, if you're an illegal bidder, if you're a drug dealer and you make $250, it's a byproduct of setting up the distribution, taking the risk, getting shot, whatever it is, and you get $250. It's a byproduct. Either way, you don't just make money happen. So these people that focus, it's like, oh, let's make money. What do you mean, let's make money? You can't make money. Only the Fed can make money. It's illegal to make money. You have to earn money. Now, the whole idea of earning is a byproduct of something. You're doing something to earn it. You can't make money. So, You earn money. How do you earn money in our business? Well, I was always told you got to have a $30,000 base shop. Well, just like I can't make money, I can't make premium either. Can't make premium. No matter. I mean, I know some of us try to, right? It's the end of the month. We're at 2,800, and $3,000 to get us a plaque, right? And we're like, hey, I was there, man. I mean, I told Mark we'd do 100 by 100 in the base shop, and it hit 98. I called my office manager, and I'm like, hey, what do we got? She's like, we got 3 or 4 to hit. And so I'm like, and it went down to 96. And I was like, man, get on it, man. The force didn't work. See, having 300,000, that's a byproduct. Bruce Kalk told me it'd be a byproduct of having 60 licensed agents. Now again, you could do 30,000 with 3 people. You could. You and 2 people writing 10 grand a month. You could do that. But that's not what you want to do. You'd rather have 60 licensed people and they're doing it. It's more stable, it's more secure, you're not going to burn yourself out. Okay, so 60 licensed agents. 60 licensed agents also don't fall out of the sky. Literally, I've never seen someone fall out of the sky and land in the testing center. Shoot them Pearson View, you know, where do we Primerica?
No,
Pearson View, yeah. No one's done that. They don't do that. You can't do that. Can you? You can't do that. Chuck Norris could do that. Hey. So in order to get them in Pearson View, you got to recruit them. Now, if you recruit 300, depends on, certain things. I'd say 300 to 450. Recruits. You should get 60 of them licensed, 30,000, 250. Now, can't control it. Can't control it. Because doing this, it has someone saying yes to me or no to me. I don't want to play that game. I don't want providing for my family to be in the hands of somebody I don't know and doesn't know my family. They say yes, they provide for my family. They say no, they don't provide for my family. See, that's why I never understood the job thing. I'm not going to let someone else provide for my family. That's why they say, hey, nothing personal, just business. I don't mind dealing with the corporation. If it's a win-win situation, that's great. All right? But I'm not going to let you provide for my family because now it's not business, it's personal. There's nothing more personal to me than providing for my family. That's personal. I would never let a corporation do that. So I don't understand how people... I'm not going to let a client do that either. Now, can I really change who passes a test and who doesn't? No. But can I affect how many people I recruit? Oh, you better believe it. You better believe it. Now, so you say, well, how? They have to say yes to it. Yeah, they do. They do. You're right. But whether you're 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10, the truth is it's both inevitable. If you need 300, you've got to talk to 3,000, right? If you need 300, you need to talk to 1,500. So can you control talking to 1,500? Can you control talking to 3,000? All right, so somebody good, like Hamad, he might be only having to talk to 1,500. Maybe you're new, you got to talk to 3,000. You guys can both control that. Nobody said it'd be fair. And, and you starting where Hamad is wouldn't be fair. Hamad put in more work, more practice, more deal. So it wouldn't be fair if you had to talk to the same amount of people as him. Because he's already done the experience. Does that make sense? But can you control talking to 3,000? Yes. Can he control talking to 1,500? So why would anybody focus on anything besides that? Why would that not be the one thing that I get myself to do now? I'm going to do it now. I'm going to talk to them now. I'm going to set the appointments now. I'm not going to leave. I'm going to do it now. And by following that principle, that's gotten it to where we've gotten a solid business. We've gotten a solid business, have a good thing going, just by following that one simple principle. I don't know how your mind works, but for me, I need that. Because the minute 3, 4, 5 things, I got to do, I lose it. I lose it. So you focus on that one thing, you get to, and the one thing really is growth. Don't get me wrong. I didn't say I came here to recruit people. I said I came here to what? Make money. That's why I came here. I did not come here to recruit people. I came here to make money. But in order for me to make money the way I want to make money, I had to do this. That's the beginning. That's what I'm going to focus on. And then it comes back to the Stephen Covey, and I'm going to close with this. Whittle always talks about the Stephen Covey is the creative stage, management stage. So there's, creative stage, management stage, justification stage, and condemnation stage. All right. And that's what it is. I mean, those are the stages right there. When you're in the creative growth stage, this is what you're focused on. When you're in the management phase, you start hearing people talk about recruit to code ratio. That's a management thing. I don't care who says what about it. It's a management thing. And it's funny. How many recordings do we got? Well, it doesn't matter. We went to the Art Williams Next Generation Giant thing. Anybody heard about that?
Yes.
All right. Art Williams gets up there and he's like, man, you got to get 50% of the people licensed. We did 50% licenses. You got to get 50% of the people licensed. And I was like, woo. I don't get 50% of the people licensed. And then Andy Young talked to him afterwards, and Andy just spoke. He goes, Art. He goes, look, I mean, you're the coach. You're the quarterback. I'm just a dumb offensive lineman. That's how Andy Young talks. He goes, but I just can't figure it out. Because during the same speech, you said that A.L. Williams recruited 2 to 2.5 million people. That's what you said. He goes, oh yeah, we recruited. And in the same speech, you said we had 220,000 licenses. Now, you're the quarterback, and I'm just a dumb offensive lineman. But to me, that sounds like 10%. And Art's kind of like, well, you're right, but I think we really licensed 500,000. And maybe some of them quit. He goes, well, maybe you're probably right. And you're the quarterback, I'm the offensive lineman. But that still sounds like 22%. 20%. And Art goes, hey, maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I don't care who's saying it. That's a management stage. And Art Williams earned his right to get into management, so don't get me wrong. But there's a lot of people that talk that crap. That's because they're no longer in creative stage. Management stage is still acceptable. What's not acceptable is the justification stage. You start justifying why things are the way they are. Oh, well, it's just the way it is. It's the economy. It's this, it's that. And then you start getting to the condemnation phase. And I see a lot of people, because one of the things of the people that are, they're condemning me a lot of times. These guys that haven't grown in, like 15, 20 years, they start saying things like, well, Brad, but he doesn't, but he's not making as much money as me. And it's like, well, John, you've been making the same amount of money for 30 years, John. How is it, I don't get how you would sit there and it's like as soon as you start focusing on money, you start telling people why, we got to make more money. It's all about that, right? But when you're talking about creative, it's all about positive stuff and growing. Same thing at a church, and that's what Bill would always talk about. You get a new church that's growing, and he gave a stat like 80% of converts are converted by new converts. 80% of converts are converted by new converts, not old ones, new ones, because they're excited. But you go to a new church, and they're in a tent with like fold-up chairs and all that, and that's all they're thinking about, and they're growing, and they're making it happen. You go to like an old church, they haven't grown in years, and they've got pews picked out. It's like, if you sit there, everybody looks at you and goes, that's Gina's, seat. So already. And that's the truth. You go to a new church, a church that's growing and popping, man, you go in there and you're like, You see people in the back with shorts and they're like, you're like, hey, I think you might need a The spot. You know? I mean, I've been in growing churches where it looks like a homeless person behind me, and he breathes, and he's like, oh, this dude is drunk. He's drunk right now in church. Our Father. You know, I was like, hey, but new churches, they're growing. Let that same person go into an old church. I can't believe someone, you know. Do you see what he's wearing? It's the truth. All I know is I want to stay in the creative stage. It's a lot more fun. You grow a lot more fast. You grow a lot faster. And long range, you end up making more money. Creative stage. Focusing on the one thing, which is growth, which starts with talking to more people, recruiting more people, and licensing more people. Thanks a lot. I hope you got All right, guys. Hey, wait, before you turn it on, hey, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. I won't see you guys, but love you. Merry Christmas.